Welcome everybody for this session. This is a session about the key success factors for GRC implementation projects. My name is Yunus Manaputi. I'm part of the Metric Stream Global Services team in Europe, and with me is Carol Sparks. Carol, maybe you can introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Carol Sparks. I am part of Global Services in California. Between us, we have hundreds of implementations. Hopefully, we'll be able to give you some good tips today.
Yeah, thank you, Carol. And as preparation for this session, Carol and I connected and we spoke with each other about our experience, the things that we have seen in the past, the lessons learned, and also the big failures we had. And the reason why we came together was really to combine those things and to see how we could condense all those learnings into some key elements that we can share with you as our audience. And that's what it was all about during this session. And maybe it's good to understand that how we are engaged with GRC implementation projects is not only from a business side, but also where organizations choose to, let's say, implement their GRC initiatives to get their business in control. They will choose a tool to support them, right? And that's a little bit our background as well, where we always have been part of GRC implementation projects, in which tools were also a big part of the implementation itself. Okay, so maybe let's first go to the challenges, Carol.
Okay, we want to point out right up front, there is some traditional thinking around implementing software that most people start out with, and it has to do with, gather your requirements, do your development, do your testing, and we want to point out that this is not exactly the best way to do it. If you do the same old things, you're going to get the same old results, which have been not necessarily optimal for people. So we really want you to give us a chance, let you think a little out of the box for this, because we've seen some newer techniques really provide better value.
Yeah, and maybe also to add, right, so for people who have been participating in IT projects in the past, right, I remember that people always said, oh, IT projects, they always fail and it always goes wrong. And the big question is then, okay, so what are we going to do differently right now, right? What are we going to do differently when it comes to the GRC implementation projects and when we need to do a tool? And one of the things that we really came to a conclusion is, although you need to start projects with the end in mind, knowing what you want to achieve, and then already start thinking about how does the world look like once this project is finished, we should not forget the whole process, and in other words, the transformation process, because in any way, change will come. Although the business processes itself might not change per definition, at least the way how people work, the things they need to do, that will change. So it's very important to really focus on the transformation process itself. Carol?
Yeah, just want to add that you really want to focus on making it transformation, not just change. It's going to be a lot of work. You're going to have to put a lot of effort in. Go for broke. Go for things that are really going to change how you do your business. It's going to change how the business thinks about risk. It's going to change how you think about the business. Think about how you can transform what you're doing, not just change it.
Thank you. So while we were talking about these things, we actually came all discussing. We came to three main areas for which we said, okay, these are the things we actually need to focus on. Although we had a little different opinions, maybe here and there, or we use different type of language to express the areas that we need focus is required. But it comes back to these three items. Carol?
Yeah. Okay. So right away, I had said we want to transform. Well, that's a big word. First thing you want to do is really think about in detail, concretely, what does that mean? So if your transformation goal is you want the business to be thinking more about their risks when they're making decisions, you've got to break that down into concretely, what does that mean? We want to define the risk better in their terms. We want them looking at them on a weekly basis, a monthly basis. Whatever it is, you have to have very clear definition of what that transformation or how you're going to bring that transformation about and what that's going to look like. So don't just implement a software system. Implement something that's going to produce this board report that's going to tell the board that the business is seeing their risks at this level in this cycle. Be very, very specific and focus in on a narrow goal that you can achieve that's concrete.
Yeah, correct. And when it comes to the business objectives itself, it's good to make them measurable, make them understandable, describe them in a way that everybody can understand it, and make sure that it's also shareable across your organization. And also, and whenever we're here, very often, for instance, when we start these type of projects, we focus on the role of community coordinator, somebody who is gonna, let's say, preach to the audience. Change is going to come, and this is what we're trying to achieve. This is what we're going to do. This is where we're going for, and making sure that it's coming back every time in every communication within the project itself, but also outside the project whenever the organization is being informed about the things that we're doing. And that brings us also to the governance sides of this, because we talked about, okay, it's very important to have concrete business objects, but we need to focus on the governance in order to make sure that we can execute around it. And when we talk about governance, is also everybody has a role to play. There are multiple stakeholders, people are involved, but we make sure that they are informed about what role they have to do, and especially why they're there, because governance is there to support the decision-making process. And very often when we see projects fail and when we talk about, okay, why is it failing, and we see delays, we see other things, many times it comes also because decisions are not being made. And that's because people feel like, I don't have the information, or I'm not 100% comfortable with the information I have in order to make a decision. But what we're saying is actually focus on that whole process of decision making. Make sure that along the way you make certain decisions in order to move forward, and be aware that the decisions from today could be different in 2 weeks from now, or three months from now. And actually, that's okay, right? That's the way of how to grow. That's the way to move forward. That's the way actually to achieve results. Carol?
Okay, just a quick thing. A lot of times people use governance as a hammer. So they think of governance when things fall apart, and now the governance will step in and kind of beat everybody up. Doesn't work. It's not effective. What a strong governance does is really get in there from the beginning and set expectations and support when there are issues. So at a first governance meeting, I know I've got good governance when they're asking questions of the business, like, do you have the right resources? Have they been dedicated? Do they have enough time? You know, things like that. Is there anybody getting in your way? Are there any things that are holding you up? Those are the kinds of questions, rather than, are you on time? Are you within budget? Because you're not going to know till further down. The root causes are going to be going all along, and you're going to have a problem later. So get in early, and as governance, really be active and really be thinking about, if you want this project to succeed, your managers, you know how to make it happen. Do that. Use the governance to really make sure that everything is going well from day one, and it's never going well. So find out what isn't and help fix it.
Yeah, and maybe for the senior managers sitting here whose teams actually need to do these type of implementations, give your team the mandate to make the decisions, to move on, or make agreements with your team what kind of information you need in order to make the right decision. Okay, and that brings us to the next point. Carol.
Okay, so we wanted to make it clear, you're in this boat, you're all in it together, the vendor, the business, everybody's together. If the boat sinks, we're all going down. So we really want to work together, and we want to be focused together on quality. So we don't have to be best friends. We don't have to do any of that. What we really do have to do, though, is have a shared value for the vision and the quality. So stay focused on quality and always adjust your scope to allow for quality. So one of the things I see over and over again is people will say, we want quality, but they won't give you the resource for it. They won't have the time for it. They won't. Forget all that. Think about hey, this is what we want to accomplish. What do we have the time for? How much support do we have? Okay, what can we do then on a quality basis given those factors? And that's how you get quality.
Yeah, and for me, one of my statements is always like quality is a perception. So the way how we look to quality also has to do like, okay, person A looks to something and they see certain things, and person B looks to something and see different things, and both have a perception around this. So it's very important when we talk about quality is actually that you make quality also measurable, that you really say, okay, what does it really mean? So for instance, what kind of information is important? What kind of templates do we use? How does the information needs to go? Or when do we consider certain things to be ready or done? And when do we consider it complete? So yeah, we look at it in a different way. And that brings us also to the whole idea like collaboration and partnership within the teams to work together. It's the most important thing. We're all in this boat together. Very often what you will see during these projects is that you have different teams operating with each other. You have got IT, you've got the business, you've got maybe some third parties or a vendor, and they are all involved, and people are sitting there, and but they all have their own objectives as well, and they have their own stakeholders. And they are all like silos. And in order to make it a success, you actually need to look to yourself as one team. And that also means that it requires a level of transparency. So there needs to be some type of culture of transparency about, okay, what are the things that you're struggling with? What are the things that you need to do? Because that's how you enable the other team members to think along with you, to come to solutions, to come to better steps to make. And sometimes that's not always easy, because of politics or because of other things as well. But that's why it's also a deliberate choice that you need to make to say, wait, you know what? I'm going to trust you. I'm going to trust you, and I'm going to share with you all those things so that I enable the rest of the team to help us and to achieve the goals that we have set together as one team. So it's really a mindset that we're all in this together, and only together we can create success. And if we have success, yes, sir, go ahead.
Oh, no, I just wanted to add to that. In a management role, the key thing that you can do is make them a team, make them rise and fall together. So when people come and point fingers or this, don't buy into that. Don't focus on that. Say, what do we need to do? Just keep focusing on what do we need to do to make this work? Because you will run into problems. There will be issues, but make them work as a team, and you know how to do that. You know how to manage to do that. And there has to be rewarded. They have to sink or swim as a team. If you allow them to become separate silos, the boat's going to go.
Yeah, and maybe to add as well, I mean, it really brings back to what makes a success as well. It's really the people, right? The people who are there, they are making the success, and you're sitting in that boat. But also, whenever you have success, don't forget to make time to really celebrate your success, the things you achieve, the things where you are, because that bounds people together, but also gives you some time to look back, to share some lessons learned, take it further. But it's so important.
Yeah.
Carol?
And it's be very grateful to the people who make a project successful. It is hard to do. And when it's completed, make sure that you recognize everybody who has contributed to the success. There's going to be some heroes. Recognize them.
Yeah, thank you. So hopefully with this session, everybody has some things that they can take away immediately, and will help them as well to set up your own GRC projects and the things you need to do. I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for the session. Thank you, Carol, for your participation as well. And hopefully you enjoy the summit and the rest of the sessions. Thank you very much.